Let's go. Well, Twig did the last intro for Andy. You were great. She's very modest about welcoming people to Twig and Jenkins.
I know. I don't like to do our
Like
announcement. It feels like performative, whereas otherwise it just feels like we're yapping. But like doing the like direct to camera thing, unless I'm trying to pull off a joke, it just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
It's too sincere. So all sincerity we leave to Brad, who is one of the most earnest and sincere people. He cries every other episode.
I do cry every podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry this podcast.
I hope like tariffs aren't that.
I mean, maybe I will. Who knows? Who knows? But welcome to Twig and Jenkins. We've got the man, the incomparable, the expert on all of the things. Our guy, Adam Hodge, offered to come hang out with us.
It's good to be here, man.
And we have a lot to cover. And we were just catching up before. And Twig and I were just like, do we know shit about tariffs? I don't know that we know shit about tariffs. We're like, boom. Boom.
Here I am.
Certainly not enough to do a solo podcast on it. Can you imagine? Just like everyone knows we're flying a little bit by the seat of our pants. But if we tried to go deep on any policy, the number of DMs we'd get from friends who are expert would be like, guys, just like have a seat.
Just like...
This is not CBC, is what you're telling me. Cool.
Just
good.
reel it in.
Yeah.
But Adam is the man. Adam does all the things. Managing director at Pulpit, which is like the premier firm here in town. Served our country admirably at USTR. But also, more importantly, a parent of a baby at the White House U.S. Kids Daycare, where and I met.
That's right.
Many years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Yeah. Where Sadie was just like a little...
She used to crawl around our office.
I know.
I have a picture of her.
I know.
They're like getting into like the one plant we managed to keep alive. One of the ferns from Between Two Ferns,
One of the
maybe?
ferns from Between Two Ferns. This is true.
And now she's like doing Model UN in New York.
I know. It's brutal.
Old timers, guys.
So
old heads.
We're getting there.
We're so old. You're just telling us a story about someone just wanted to take your heart out.
Asking like, what was it like with Obama? I was 4 years old. I was like,
you never talk to me again.
Don't. I died.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like,
That's not right. Well, we had Andy on last week, and he gave us 3 points that every Democrat should focus on. 1, Medicaid. 2, the corruption, and number 3, tariffs. And you are the expert on tariffs, so let's go. Yeah. Let's just get in here. What the hell is happening?
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to buy wine and avocados?
I mean,
like what's going on here, Adam?
The price is going up.
Yeah, the price is going up.
Look,
yeah, you'll be able to buy wine, Brad. You'll be fine.
I just say, like, buy it now, right? Look, there is all kinds of drama about tariffs. There has been from the day that Donald Trump came down his golden elevator in Trump Tower, more than a decade ago. There's a real sense he views tariffs as the hammer for every nail. No matter if it's immigration, no matter if it's like manufacturing, no matter if it's fentanyl, tariffs are the hammer for every nail.
And do we think that's because he misunderstands economics? Or like where would one come up with this idea? Because I took AP Econ, I think, in high school, and there's like a whole section.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even have to. I mean, like we've all seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right?
Exactly.
like the smooth Holly tariffs,
tariffs,
right? Like
stagflation. Like what? Why?
Yeah.
Why, where did he come up? Where did he come up with this?
I mean, I think a lot of his economic theory and goes back to like the '80s and like where he saw and views America getting ripped off, and over the course of several decades, there's no question there has been like a push to like neoliberalize economic policy in America, like before NAFTA, like going back decades. And so like, and that has had real consequences for working people around the country. Therefore, a lot of manufacturing has moved outside the U.S. It has had real consequences for like communities in Ohio, New Jersey, all across the country. And that pain is real. And so what I say to people when they ask, like, isn't everything Trump does on tariffs, isn't it just crazy? I was like, well, it's more complicated than that. Like, he has diagnosed the problem that we have in this country about a reduction in manufacturing. But like with most things with Donald Trump, the solution is just totally chaotic and crazy and doesn't actually address the real issue. So in his first term, he talked a lot about like, we're going to put tariffs on all kinds of goods. It ended up to address like the dearth of manufacturing in the country. And then over time it got watered down, and he talked about China ripping us off. And to be clear, like, China is a very unfair actor in the economy.
Yeah.
They overproduce stuff that is just crazy, like steel and aluminum. They provide more steel that they can ever use in their economy. They flood the market, and it has hurt America's ability to produce steel in the U.S. Like, that is a real problem. Trump talked about it. Joe Biden agrees.
Yeah.
The problem
It was a
is
big deal during the our Obama years.
Yeah.
Like, the steel workers they were just like, China's dumping so much steel into, like, you've got to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
No, right. And it is, so again, he's diagnosed the problem, but like the solution that he's put forward, like, and now hiking a bunch of tariffs on Canada and Mexico and steel and aluminum from Canada and Mexico, is not addressing the real problem that we have with, in that example, steel and aluminum.
Yeah.
Like, the U.S. gets 60% of our aluminum from Canada. If you put a 25% tariff on Canadian aluminum, that, like, everything from airplanes to beer cans gets more expensive. The price goes up.
Right.
Right. So, like, the solution is still not dealing with China's overcapacity, and like, it does nothing to do with like, it's like, here's a shiny object over here that I want you to stare at, but the real problem is actually over here.
The messaging, though, I think works. I think the messaging works without the outcome, which is to say, I always use my dad as the proxy for every Trump voter, so I apologize, Walter Lincoln Jenkins. He lives in New Jersey, by the way, for folks who want to know.
Because you haven't said it on the podcast before.
I haven't said it.
Not enough.
Said it enough. But, you know, like, my dad, there's this feeling of, like, countries are ripping us off. Trump saying, fuck that noise. You can't rip us off anymore, right? And what is missing in that piece, to your point, is what actually happens after these tariffs go into effect. So what do you foresee, like, trade wars and, you know, prices going skyrocketed? Like, what do you see this ultimately doing to the U.S. economy as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, first take a look at what it's doing to the economy, like, right now.
Right.
Like, all of the uncertainty from the first couple weeks of his administration, the first 60 whatever days, like, has really, like, caused the market to have create a whole lot of uncertainty.
Right.
First, it was 60% tariffs on China. Then we're going to walk it back. Then it was 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Then that was walked back.
Yeah.
Steel and aluminum. Then that was softened and delayed until April. And then it was cars. Like, so, like, the constant back and forth and changing of what is actual policy makes a lot of people just nervous.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's injecting a whole lot of uncertainty into the economy that would not otherwise be there, except for Donald Trump and his message on and what he's talking about on tariffs.
Right.
So wait, have any tariffs gone into effect as of, call it
March 20th.
March 28th?
Yes, like, there are tariffs on China, like, and Canada and Mexico. Like, those tariffs have gone into effect,
and they've all retaliated.
They have all retaliated, right? And so some of them countries have said, okay, we're gonna retaliate, but we want to negotiate. So, like, the EU and Canada and Mexico have said, like, we'll talk to you about what your issues are with our economy, but let's not go wrecking things just for the sake of wrecking things. Let's wait and have a negotiation and talk about what our real issues are. Like, the other thing that's happening, though, is, like, all of our allies and partners around the world, so whether it be the EU, the UK, who we need to deal with these bigger challenges I'm talking about, like the challenge of China's overcapacity.
Yeah.
Like, China dominating on semiconductors, trying to take all of our intellectual property. Like, those countries aren't going to want to work with us.
Yeah.
If we've pissed them off by hiking a bunch of tariffs on them. If we're in a trade war, it's just a total distraction. And that's something that in the Biden administration, we really tried to get right. Like, we didn't come in and just, like, eliminate all of Trump's tariffs from the get-go. We said some of these are strategic. Some of these may make sense. But what we also are going to do is we're going to invest in the economy. We're going to do things like the Chips and Science Act, infrastructure, to take the tariffs, help increase production, especially in, like, the clean and green energy space. But that was just not going to happen without U.S. investment and without some of the tariff protections for our customers. So for our companies.
Okay, so that's, I think, an interesting point that you don't actually get to hear much, because it's a big talking point for Donald Trump and the people on the right that are like, hey, we did tariffs and Biden kept them. Like they kept our tariffs in China they kept our tariffs on China in place because they're so good, therefore validating what he has to say as Donald Trump's position on tariffs. So, but Donald Trump wasn't actually then taking this ancillary step that you're saying that solves the problem of investing here. He was just sort of like tariffs, but then no meaningful government spending to invest in.
That's right. And it also, it didn't do anything with what our allies and partners around the world, who also have some of the same issues, are going to deal with it. We live in a global economy. You put a bunch of U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods. There's nothing to say that the Europeans are going to also follow suit, and people are going to find workarounds, right? Or other partners in the economy are going to work around. The other thing that happened is that you saw a bunch of production starting to shift to other countries in Southeast Asia, so Malaysia, Vietnam, all these other countries. But many of the actual companies that were then used to get around the China tariffs were actually half owned by Chinese state-owned enterprises. Of course. So you're not actually getting around the bigger problem of China's dominance and overcapacity in the economy. And so again, that's where what we tried to do was say, okay, Europe, you got the same issues. Perfect example on Boeing and Airbus. We had a fight with Europe over how Boeing and Airbus build planes in the US and the EU. The real challenge, though, that we see on the horizon is that China has stolen a lot of the technology behind the airplanes from Boeing and Airbus. They have, they're dumping a whole bunch of money unfairly into propping up Comac as the Chinese airline. And so the US and the EU look at that problem and they say, the clock is ticking. Boeing and Airbus may not be able to compete if China continues to do this. And we are sitting here fighting each other on our issue. The real problem that we have is China's over production and subsidies of Comac. Yeah. So we said well, let's work together. We can put this fight aside to deal with the bigger issue and find ways to work this out. Trump has poisoned the well of that entirely. Yeah. There's no way that we're going to work. The EU is going to say, we'll work with you on these bigger issues while you're stabbing us in the front with tariffs.
Sorry, guys.
It's all good, Twigg. You've had too many to drink over there.
I mean, so much caffeine.
A lot of what Twigg and I talk about here, and we try to do it in a very loving way. It's like tough love. We try to talk about the Democratic Party's messaging. And I'm reminded of critiques we made during the convention of what are the things that Trump is talking about? Oh, immigration? Let's not talk about that at all. Yeah. Right?
Seemed to be the Democratic Party's approach.
Yeah, that was the Democratic Party's approach.
Never bring up immigration ever.
Let's never bring it up.
Any circumstance.
Yeah, and there were a number of other issues as well. But I do think tariffs, I don't think it's at the level of immigration, right? I don't think that there are mass deportation signs next to Tariff the world signs. Yeah. But to your point, I think it's sort of central to Trump's whole philosophy, whole economic philosophy. I don't know, who is talking about tariffs from our side well? Because I'm trying to think out loud. As much as I love Bernie and AOC, I don't think it comes up in the way that you're describing, right? Which is sort of allaying some of the fears and some of the fear mongering that a hollowed out Ohio town that's angry about the lack of manufacturing, when they hear Trump being a strong man, it resonates, right? Who do we think is doing a good job of talking about tariffs right now?
I mean, I think what you've seen, and some of it is from some of it's from the think tank world, because tariffs get into such, really tough. So the Roosevelt Institute has a very smart take on how do progressives talk about tariffs and trade policy. Yeah. I think we do need to stop chasing the shiny object on tariffs and just focus and what is Trump talking about today. I think if Democrats are going to be successful, we need our own economic argument that is wholesale. That is not just like we're going to talk about tariffs because he's talking about tariffs. Let's talk about how we're going to invest in jobs, good paying jobs around the country. It's a yes and proposition. Tariffs can be really helpful. They can be a very good tool to help give American companies some breathing space.
By the way, I have not heard many Democrats say that.
What
you just said.
But it is like there are some places where tariffs make a lot of sense, but it is tariffs and investing in the economy, like investing in like roads, bridges, chips, like solar panel production, wind energy, like all those things are really important to America's competitiveness down the road. It's also taxes, right? Like these two things that are happening in Washington are not divorced. Like Trump is talking about and putting all these tariffs in place, but the thing he wants to do more than anything else is pass tax cuts for the rich and corporations.
Yeah.
Like that is what is the main attraction, right? And in his first term, he did the tax cuts first, tariffs second.
Right.
This time it's flipped around where the tariffs are all going on now, the tax cuts are still coming.
Right.
And Democrats are sort of like, how do we talk about tariffs? How do we, like, the two are connected. And I think we have to make a compelling economic argument about, like, we're going to invest in creating good jobs here in the U.S.
Yeah.
We're going to have a tax code that is fair for working people, that is going to help create economic opportunity. And yes, there will be a trade policy that helps companies compete and work with our allies and partners so that we're all like-minded, trying to create good jobs for working people together. Because at the end of the day, like China and other competitors in the world do not compete, and they don't care about what's good for working families here in the U.S., right? Like we have to make the case and go to people and say, I'm fighting for you. Like I'm going to help lower your taxes. I'm going to help make sure the wealthy pay their fair share. And I'm going to invest so that like these companies, these factories are building stuff here, not overseas. That to me is like an argument that I think Democrats can get around, and it's a very simple message.
Right. Okay. So the top three things that every Democrat should be magic wand, right? Adam Hodge's magic wand. Every single Democrat in the country says three things about the economy. What are they?
Jobs, manufacturing, fairness.
Ooh.
I like that.
Okay, so let's put a little bit another sentence. So jobs, what does that mean? Like more jobs, higher paying jobs, more stability around jobs.
Yeah, and in all areas of the country. No, but in all areas of the country, right? Like you think about where like some of the investment is going, and especially as Democrats thinking about being competitive, like across the country, we have to be able to talk about jobs and good paying jobs in Arizona, in Georgia, in Columbus, Ohio, in New Jersey.
That was well done. That was well done.
Right?
Let's go.
Right? So like we have to be able to talk about creating good paying jobs in those areas for all people in the economy. And I think sometimes Democrats have either fallen into the trap of we're going to make like an esoteric professorial argument about what the right type of economic policy is. Instead of saying like, what is the thing that helps people like put a roof over their head, clothes in their back, and food in their stomach? Like those are three fundamental baselines that people care about. You need a good job to do all of those things. Like manufacturing, like I think if America is going to compete in the global economy, we do have to make stuff here.
Yeah.
We can't just rely on us being a competitive, a consumer-driven economy in perpetuity. I think we have to try to make more stuff here in the U.S., but it has to be done in a fair way, and that's where the tax code comes in. It has to be fair and reciprocal for all people in the economy, not just people at the top. That to me is like three easy buckets.
Okay, but arguably those are the three tenets of Bidenomics, right?
What's that?
Fair. Shut up.
Never heard of it.
You and most Americans.
Never heard of it.
But
For all the arrows I took about Bidenomics and the Biden administration, I'm catching them here too. So it's all good.
You know what I mean?
Never heard of it.
But arguably, I mean, I agree with all of those points. All of those points seem spot on. Arguably, that's what Barack Obama's economic message was, and it's also what Joe Biden's economic message was. And it doesn't seem to land. Like Donald Trump's message seems to be like, I'm rich. I know how to get you rich. And I'm going to do things so that America's rich. So like, I'm going to get rich. You're going to get rich.
And
everybody's
fuck everyone else. Fuck
and
every
everybody
country.
in America is
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
get rich.
Yeah.
And in a time, I think, of really intense uncertainty, insecurity, I think the internet has really broken people's brains around money. Like, it's wild you shouldn't be able to see how other people, like the comparison game is just a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Like, my dad grew up super poor in the Caribbean. He's like, I would have had no idea though. Like, I had no concept that we were poor.
Yeah.
Because everyone I knew, like, I never saw anything that would tell me otherwise. And so, like, that is just broken. I think it's horrible for individual humans' brains. It's like, the internet's such a great idea, just not for humans.
Yeah.
And so, like, is there a Trump era version of those 3 points that I think that messages a little bit, or like gets us a little bit more steam? Because I feel like we've been making the case for all 3 of those points for a generation.
Yeah, I mean, the meme I always come back to is the Oprah, like, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. But it's like, you get a job, you get a job, you get a job,
Yeah,
you
there
get
you
a job.
go.
Right?
All right, okay.
Like, we are going to empower you. You're going to get a good paying job. We're going to put money in your pocket. We're going to help you put food on the table for your family. We're going to help you get a roof over your, and like all of those things I think are fundamental to people's daily lives. They get it. They feel it. They know it. And they know that it just feels a little bit less secure than it used to, or than it should be. We're not asking people, and I don't think like Democrats should try to like mimic Trump and say like, we're going to be like either our Democratic version of Trump on the economy. I think we got to chart our own course and like go to people meet them where they are and say like, I'm going to help you like put food over your head, make it a little bit easier for you.
Yeah.
That to me feels like a more effective way to have that conversation. But you have to then like not be afraid to go talk to like the guy working the like shift at the GM factory in Flint, Michigan, or like the immigrant who's trying to like working at whatever plant around the country who wants economic opportunity. And especially like those folks who are voters in the country, you have to go talk to them and like not be afraid to walk into a union hall and like say like, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm trying to achieve. This is who I am. I think the most effective messengers for Democrats on the economy are like very capable of going in and making that clear economic argument.
I agree. I also think it's a weird moment where, so I'm a New York Mets fan, and our owner is Steve Cohen. We call him Uncle Steve, because we're all family members. New York Mets fans.
You got to come up with something.
Because there's so few of you.
We love Uncle Steve. No, just because we're a tortured family and we all love each other, but we also have hated the New York Mets ownership for many years. And so Uncle Steve, this billionaire, buys the New York Mets. He's kind of like in a way, he's kind of like a good Lex Luthor / Elon Musk figure, right?
Okay. Using
his wealth for good. He was on a panel, I don't know if it was Davos or some shit, and he had some Bloomberg, I think it was Sorkin or someone, interview him. And he asked him like what he thought of the economic outlook. And he said something that was so good. And I'm like, why aren't we talking about this? Republicans are giving us a gift. And Steve Cohen, who's clearly a Republican, I mean, this guy's not like a progressive. He goes, I think what's happening with Doge is awful. I think austerity in this moment is awful. I think just firing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, is the worst thing that the American economy could be doing right now. And we somehow don't count those as jobs.
Right.
Like, those are jobs
Yeah.
that we're just slashing. Those are families. Those are people who have money in their paychecks who are putting money into the economy that you're just taking totally out of the economy.
But it's not just like and I think they frame this as like the faceless DC bureaucrat who's going into like, it is people who work at the Denver Mint,
100%.
people who work at the Kansas City Fed or like USDA, but it's not just their salary.
Yeah.
Like, all of those people then go buy groceries.
Yes.
They
It's
go
all
buy
connected.
coffee. They have a car payment.
Yeah.
They have a credit card payment. They have a mortgage.
Yeah.
So all of that filters out throughout the economy. And so not only you're now taking money out of the barista or like the local coffee shop or the local donut shop in your town.
Yeah.
You're taking money out of the local real estate broker who's trying to help like the economy and be a part of that. Like, so it all like boomerangs back on the broader, and that's why I think you've seen some of the like economic confidence really start to wane.
Yes.
I mean, Trump's popularity in the economy has never been lower.
Yes.
Right? Like people feel the uncertainty. People are making decisions like, I'm not sure that I'm going to go take that trip.
Right.
I'm not sure I'm going to take that vacation.
Because I don't know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you've heard out of the Trump administration is like, oh, well, like this will be somewhat transitory, or like this will be like a moment
Like
of
growing
pain,
pains.
growing pains, and like obviously that is really cold comfort to someone who can't put food on the table anymore.
100%.
That is, and it is not just going to be that government employee.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, whose job is just as legitimate as anybody else's,
Yes.
right? Like there was, and I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of like the stigmatizing of like people who are serving their country to serve like the American people who are doing a good job, who are working hard. We've all worked with these people, the career people who are just phenomenal public servants who are smart and dedicated and driven, and they're just trying to do their part. Like they support tons of jobs around the country. And we should not denigrate their service, but also don't denigrate their role in the economy.
Right. Right. The other part that's interesting too is, not to keep bringing up Doge, but I do feel like there's this interesting moment where everyone keeps sort of looking at Elon Musk as some, billionaire oracle of how the economy should be run. Right. And yet, the sort of like destruction that he's wreaking will make things so markedly worse for the average American voter, the average American worker. This guy, Dennis Kelleher, who runs Better Markets, he told me, they're putting out a study. The American family or the American worker in 2007 to 2025, 93% of American workers have lost wealth. Lost wealth. 93%. So we have not, we're still in a recession. Like we have still not recovered from Wall Street, corporations preying, real estate companies preying on the American people, not having guardrails, not actually protecting the American people from predatory lenders and all this bullshit. And here we have the destruction of CFPB. Like things are going to get worse. What he was saying is like, we have not yet recovered from 2007. And Brad, we don't quite appreciate how bad things are going to get with the destruction of the CFPB.
Well, and sorry, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say like, that is where like Trump has used that to his solutions do nothing to help the people who you're talking about, who Dennis was talking about, right? Like those people do feel uncertain about their because they know like either the credit card debt is bigger.
Yes.
It's harder for their kids to get a good education. They feel like their money doesn't go quite as far.
Yeah.
Because I mean it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and they don't feel like there is this sense of dynamism and economic opportunity for them. They feel like it is there for other people,
right.
Others undefined, and Trump has used his sort of like charlatan salesman to like, yes, I got it. Like, and you are absolutely right to feel that way. And I'm going to help you out after I do tax cuts for the
exactly.
Like that, so the solution that they're putting forward does not actually address like
anything.
The fundamental challenge. And that's where I think where quite frankly, the opportunity is for Democrats.
Yes.
We cannot think of it as just we're under the cosh, like we're up against it. What are we going to do? It's like, no, we have like an agenda that people actually think is smart. I mean, we talked about a couple of minutes ago, you were alluding to it, like Bidenomics and Obama policies. Like you take those individual pieces, like, and we saw this in the Biden administration, like they are popular we have just failed to wrap it in a message that people can get behind and rally behind. Like you talk about like investing in solar production in the U.S. Like that is one like tests off the charts. Like investing in quality education, that tests off the charts. People believe in those things, but we haven't connected the dots to. And here's how it's going to make your life better.
Well, that's why we have Carrie Twigg. That's why we have Carrie Twigg. We're gonna figure out how to market this here on this podcast.
Well, but hold on, because there's actually a big unsaid thing that's happening between what Democrats have been in charge for 12 out of those 16 years.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
And so our policies are great. Our implementation of those policies has not been.
Yeah.
It is not actually a messaging problem alone. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I agree. We need to improve our messaging, and we need to actually improve conditions. And that hasn't happened.
Right.
And so I'm not trying to underplay the impact of the recession, the way that George Bush, like all of that gets set up. George Bush won, that negotiates NAFTA, but Clinton signs that shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like Democrats have actually talked more game than they have done meaningful things to help American working families. And there's a lot of evidence to back that up. And so, yes, I'm interested in us messaging it better. I'm also interested in us making it better.
Yeah.
And like, that doesn't seem like, how do we do that part?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and for the next like 2 to 4 years, like I think it's not going to come from Washington. It's not going to come from Democrats like Leader Jeffries or Schumer.
Well, that's
like,
clear.
like that. They're like it is. I think it's got to come from like governors around the country saying like, here's how we're going to solve problems and make your lives better at the local level. And I think like Democrats as mayors, as like city council members, all have to take this on themselves and be part of the solution and say like, I'm going to do what I can in my town, in my state, to make the people's lives of Unit X state better. Katie Hobbs in Arizona, Gavin Newsom in California, right? Like Jared Polis, like Pritzker in Illinois, Westmore in Maryland. Like, here's the things I'm going to do to help make it a little bit easier and better for people in X state, and actually govern, like, do the things that you say you're going to do. Put pressure on people to say like, no, this has to happen now. Like, say what you want about the tactics and the way that Trump has done the things he's done and Doge has done the things. They're showing action.
100%.
And people like respond. I may not even agree with what he's doing, but he's doing something. And you know what? Like for so long, I haven't like. So if you're,
it has felt like all talk because it's mostly been talk.
But I think so. So like that's where some of the governors who I think are doing a decent job, like J.B. Pritzker comes to mind, like Westmore in Maryland, are saying like, no, like we're going to deliver. Like, and I'm going to say like, and I got the receipts when I ask you to vote for me. Like, show up with the receipts and say like, I'm doing stuff. And like talking about, but talking to your folks in your state. Say like, I'm going to go to every corner of the state and say like, this is what we're doing for you. And the regional like implementation person of whatever in Springfield, Illinois, or downstate, like get it out the door. Like, do it. I want it done now.
It's the Evan Shapiro rebuilding the bridge in 12 days.
Right.
Versus like the 18 months that it would typically take.
I love that example. Like, let's just solve the American economy in this podcast. Let's do it. Like, what is the Democratic equivalent, right? To Carrie's point, I think Bidenomics sounds good on paper. We've talked about it. But like, what is the moonshot idea? Right, that the Democratic Party should be talking about? Because I think that, we're going to be doing a lot of protection. We're going to be doing a lot of like protecting the most vulnerable. We're going to be doing a lot of spelling out what these cuts mean to the American people. But Andy was talking about how he had young people at his town hall, and they were very focused on like, well, what are we fighting for? Right? What is the aspirational idea? And should we have an aspirational idea? Like, what does that look like? I mean, the most recent aspirational economic idea I can think of that seems so far-fetched but actually started a conversation was our guy Andrew Yang's UBI. Because at least people were like, oh yeah, it's an idea. Like, I don't know if I agree with it, but it's an idea. Is there a moonshot idea that states in particular could start implementing, states where we have democratic supermajorities?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think like anybody who tells you that they figured that out now, I just don't think is there. I mean, I wish I could come here and say like wave a magic wand, Adam's magic wand, and say,
damn
like,
it, Adam.
I know, right? But like, like let's cancel the pod. Right?
Yeah.
But look, I think if you get into talking to people at their most basic fundamental level, it is like we're gonna like just not to say make America great again, but we're gonna make your lives better. Like, like people across the board just don't feel like they're in a position like where anything is going to change for the better for them anytime soon, right?
That is true.
And so like here's like I don't think people want a snake oil salesman tell them like I'm going to actually solve all your problems. I think people, even like with Trump's nonsense, people I think tend to smell the BS.
Yeah.
Like they know like he's selling me something and I'm not really sure about it.
But at least he's doing something. Yeah.
So I think we have to make, and because I think it's something that we believe in, like a economic counter argument that says like, no, but we're actually going to make your life better.
Yeah.
Like, we are actually going to help you put food on the table.
Yeah.
Like we're going to make sure that the food is healthy.
Could there be like a New Deal jobs program?
I mean,
you know what I mean? Or I don't know, just something that is a pie in the sky that we know it's never going to happen, but something that we can rally around. You know what I mean?
Is access to high paying jobs really, like, I live in California.
Yeah.
Zadie Ezra Klein talks a lot about California and its affordability, and particularly around states with Democratic supermajorities where you have governors and both houses, and it's real failures to deliver, right? He just did this whole thing. I think his new book's about it or something.
With Derek Thompson, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And particularly around like California, you can make a lot of money, but you're going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like housing is crazy. It is so expensive. Taxes are incredibly high. I have no problem paying taxes. And yet I don't know that what I get for my taxes is demonstrably better than what I could be getting in Ohio or in Nevada or any number of the places where people are leaving Democratic states to move to conservative states because of their statewide policy. And so when you talk about how the forefront of like the Democratic economic vision being in states, how realistic is that?
I mean, I think we have no choice. Like,
it's realistic because it is the only option.
Like we can't just say like. I mean, I think like on some level, it's hard. You can't just say like it's really hard. So like I guess like oops,
we're screwed.
We're screwed.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like the governors have to like talk to like
figure it out.
But like so housing is one example. Like in California, they take it at a local level and like. I have family who live in the Bay Area. They talk about how crazy it is to afford like a small place to live, and like the rules around it are so Byzantine they can't like possibly
try
to get a band built, right?
It's
like
wild.
And so we have to like say like, you know what, we've been trying it this one way and we have not delivered. Let's just be frank. Like we have missed the mark. Like we have not done the things we need to do to help like make it easier for people who we supposedly care about to actually get by and live here. So we got to like, just, there are no sacred cows. We're going to say like, we're going to sit here and take good ideas and solve it. And you know what? Like there won't be tax cuts for the rich, but I guarantee you there are a ton of good ideas that are out there that people need to have a bit more of an open mind and say, just because we haven't done that before, like we're never going to try that again. Or like, and talk to like different people and listen to people in the economy. I mean, I think like there are small business owners, there are people who are like working in the economy who's like, this is what my challenge is. This is how hard it is for me to get open up my store, open up my business. I have to jump through like 10 different hoops to do this. That's a legitimate concern. You know, like how do we make that person's life and that person's path to creating a company or a job a little bit easier? Like start with some of like the basics. I think that's like a place to start. But I think you're absolutely nailing stuff on. Like if I'm like the governor of Arizona, and I have this window to prove that we can govern in Arizona, a state that Democrats from a political standpoint have to like figure out and keep competitive because people from, Ohio and Michigan are moving to Arizona. I here's what we're going to deliver. And so we're going to have a fair tax policy but we're going to do something with your tax revenue. Like we're not just going to put it into whatever pie in the sky idea. It's going to be like, no, we're going to actually help like build this road in your town. We're going to like open up a new school. We're going to pay your teachers a little bit more so we can recruit the top teachers in the area to help give your students a better education. Those are, I think, some of the like break it down to the basics of what people need in their life.
You're right. It's also just a sense of focus and being, I think, a lot more transactional, I think is sort of what you're getting at. Twig and I, we were talking about this right before the election where nothing against the Kamala campaign, but during the convention, it felt like a moment. And then every moment after, it just felt like gobbledygook on what
How
do
is
you...
that not a slur? I mean, I know it's not because I've Googled it, but gobbledygook just seems like a slur. It sounds like a slur. Every time someone says it, I'm just like, oh God, you can't say that anymore.
You can.
I know. I Google it every time.
I said it.
I totally said it.
I didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
No,
Sorry.
but here's the thing. Barack Obama in 2008, we thought that the reason why he won was like unicorns and rainbows, and he was this like black oracle who's going to
bring racism was over.
Bring country together, hope, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
No. On the website, on the BarackObama.com website, the day before Election Day, if you went to the BarackObama.com website, what was front page? Calculate the tax cut that you're going to get when Barack Obama wins.
Well, and like, Carrie, you'll remember in 2012, in the Obama campaign against, like, it boiled down to, I'm going to cut taxes for working people. Mitt Romney's going to cut them for the rich.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And that was what every single day, every event we did around the country was about like tax cuts for working people versus tax cuts for the rich.
Yes.
And that's where I think if I'm going to critique my friends in the Harris and Biden campaign, like there was an opportunity to frame what Trump has said he was going to do, right? On the record, he said like, oil companies, you give me $1 billion, I'm going to make it easier for you.
Yes.
Like everybody in this room, you just got a whole lot richer because I'm going to cut taxes for you. Like that is just like Mitt Romney's
47% video.
Right? So
I was seething.
Yeah. So like every single day, should start with like, and this is where I think Democrats actually like we're very depressed right now. But there will be a moment throughout this year, especially as they try to pass a tax cut bill and pay for it with cuts to Medicare that people care about.
If someone
doesn't rally around,
if someone doesn't cut an ad with that footage,
it's crazy.
The minute that they start the Hill negotiations for that CR,
that should be like today, right? Like, so that is where
who's cutting the ad?
Yeah. Like
Carrie Twigg is cutting the ad.
Fine, who's paying for it?
But
who's putting it up on the?
No, but like that is where I think there is an opportunity for Democrats to frame also the contrast of who we're fighting for versus who they're actually fighting for. And I think that's where the campaign got a little bit wrapped around the axle about like this type of homeownership policy or this type of whatever else.
Too much.
And it should just focus on here's what I am for. I'm going to make your life more prosperous and more secure. He's going to cut taxes for the rich and the corporations. And like start every like period.
Yes.
Say it
Thank
again.
you so much for coming.
Right? Like this is what I'm about.
Yes.
And so like as Democrats think about like if you're like thinking about running for governor of New Jersey or Virginia this year or gearing up for any of the special elections or like thinking about running for Congress in 2026, like that to me feels like that's the opportunity. And like there is a real opportunity to frame this as like this is what I'm for and have a forward affirmative vision for this is what I'm like why I'm going to cut taxes for the middle class, not for the rich and the corporations, and here's what it means and here's what it's going to do for your life. Like that to me feels like I can run with that. I can sell that. And lay it as a contrast to what they're going to do on the other side.
And the second half of what Barack Obama did was he was just like, I just finished paying off my student loans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It was
I
real.
just
True.
It was real.
did this thing. Like, me and Michelle could not afford the house in Chicago and the house in like, it was, this has been tight.
Yeah.
And I think, like, the fact that we so lost our ability to do the I'm like you,
Yes.
as most exemplified by, and not to pile on the Harris
Do
campaign,
it.
but like,
just get in there.
but like, Kamala's the one who worked at McDonald's, and yet Donald Trump gets all the credit for that stunt at McDonald's, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, I get it was a stunt, but it was effective. And she lost on to the vote. She lost the sort of contest between who understands
about
you
people like
better,
me.
Yeah,
who
yeah.
cares about people like me, and the fact that she lost that to Donald Trump, who over and over and over again, who, I get it, he's charismatic, he's charming, he's telegenic, he understands how to entertain and hold people's attention, and yet there is, to your point, there's nothing about that dude that demonstrates any real empathy or compassion or whatever. And Kamala's maybe not regular, but she's sure as hell a lot closer to regular than he is. And
But that's where you talk about like why Andy Kim, who was just here, like is really, he talks about what it's like for him and his family.
Yeah.
Yes.
To raise two boys in this economy in America, to like how it is, like the people in his state who were just trying to get by.
Yeah.
And they don't actually think that Andy Kim is going to solve every single one of their problems.
No.
And like that's not what they want their politicians to do.
Right.
Like, but do you understand what I'm going through?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you going to look me in the
Yes.
eye and say like, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
And here's what my three ideas for how to make your life just a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then go and have that conversation, because people will respect, like if you walk up to them, you shake their hand, you listen to them, you actually listen to them and say like tell me about what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, what is the thing that is like, and they may say, look, I look around my town, I see more people who are younger who don't have a chance, people who are suffering from addiction or like those are real things that people see in their towns. Or like, I remember when this part of the town, like there was a bakery in that corner, there was a deli on this corner there, and now
Yeah.
like it's not like, okay, like that has a vibe, and that affects your view on the economy.
It reminds me of that scene from Aaron Brockovich. You guys remember? What a great movie, by the way.
such a good movie. I
Aaron
watched it
Eckhart was
within
in
the
that
last
too.
year.
The scene where
Fox.
they like take the case from her to give it to the big firm, and the woman comes in. She's like, "Aaron, your notes are like awful.
Oh yeah, your files are incomplete.
Your files are incomplete." And she's like, "What you got?"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "You couldn't have memorized all 5,500 plaintiffs." She's like, "Try me."
Yeah.
And she just knew every single person's story in that book. And I feel like as Democrats, we've lost that story.
Yeah.
We don't actually know, other than Andy Kim, who we just had. We've lost touch. We don't know what people are actually going
I've
through.
gotten
But I
really
think
heady.
like there are some people who are trying to like talk about it. I mean, I think Alyssa Slotkin after
Yes.
Trump's speech was,
Yes.
but like she has gone and like stood on the corner and shook people's hands
Yes.
and said like, tell me about your life.
Yes.
Tell me what's going on. I hear you.
Yes.
That's hard. Like I hear you. Like, and like, here's why I'm going to go to Washington and the two things I'm going to try to do to make it better for you.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
actually, but not just go and have the conversation and then like walk away.
Right.
Right. But I'm going to sit here and how much, like, I'm not trying to walk away from this conversation. I'm going
Yeah.
to listen to what you have to say.
Yes.
Tell me about your, like, what is it? Ask people like, what do you hope to accomplish in your life?
Yes.
What do you hope your children accomplish in their life? And give people a sense that you actually care about their lives. And like, we need to recruit Democrats in all corners of the country who can go and have that serious conversation.
Well, and I also think there's that Aaron Brockovich example reminded me of a story from, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a train going through East Palestine, Ohio. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
East
Yeah,
Palestine.
yeah, of course.
And the massive chemical
Yeah.
spill. And somebody, I can't remember, I'll find the article and put it in the show notes or something. But it was this really extraordinary article about why so many people in the Mahoning Valley, which is like Youngstown, Steubenville, Akron, and Columbus in Ohio, voted for Donald Trump twice, particularly. I mean, it was such a Democratic stronghold
Obama
for so
won it.
long.
Yeah.
Obama won it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Uniontown. I think the Teamsters in Youngstown can still get, like, you can still order a hit. Like, it's like, it is Dem, union. And then it had this massive swing towards Trump. And one of the women who was quoted talked about how after the chemical spill, the train accident, the chemical spill, and the water is contaminated, Donald Trump sent pallets of Trump water.
Oh, shit.
And just like,
Of course.
and she was like, I didn't even get a fucking bottle of water from Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Like, Joe Biden didn't come here.
Yeah.
He didn't show up. I never even got so much as a bottle of water for him, but Donald Trump gave us a bottle of water. And so it's like, yes, it is individual elected officials talking to their constituents. Yeah. It's also having a structure and a party mechanism. And I get it, it's a stunt, but these stunts are important, actually.
I agree.
It's like having an infrastructure, a party infrastructure that can be nimble and responsive when things do go wrong. Because you're right. People aren't expecting
It's true.
Politicians or a political party to solve all of their problems. But like, the least you can do is acknowledge that something has gone down, and that, like, you could make it a little bit easier, right? It's that like the PR project of Tide sending the washing machines out to. Do you remember? Like, those were these massive semis. They're just all free laundromats, right? Mobile laundromats. They did it for PR. I mean, yes, and it was good. And it helped people in their time of need. But like, the leverage they probably got off of that. And again, I'm sorry to be so transactional and sort of nefarious, but we have to start thinking in that kind of way as well, not just put the burden on individuals, because there's only so many people you can meet outside a shift change. There's only so many people you can meet at a town hall. We also have to just be churning out meaningful engagements, even if they're small, even if they're tactical.
No, I mean, that's one of the things that I remember when Jamie Harrison took over as DNC chair, and something he tried to do with his campaign for the Senate in South Carolina that I thought was actually like noteworthy. I was like, we're going to set up a bunch of field offices around the country, and we're not actually going to, like, the primary objective of that office is not to ask for your vote. It's to help your community. Like, we're going to sit here and whether it's in rural parts of South Carolina or parts of Columbia, like, we're going to say, like, what are the issues that you have? And we're going to, like, how can we help? We're going to be like a caseworker. We're going to be like a constituent services operation. And we're going to, this is what your issue is. Like, you need, like, help filing for a rebate for your small business. Like, let's find a way to help you. We're going to help in your community. Like, that is something that the Democratic Party can do. And oh, by the way, like, for decades in parts of the Mahoning Valley, people thought, like, oh, I could go to my local Democratic committee,
100%,
right? And they're going to help me with figure this out, right? But they also, again, like, they were willing to look people in the eye and talk to them about their. I mean, it's why people like, Tim Ryan and Sherrod Brown, like, ran several points ahead of the National Democratic brand. Because they weren't too big for their shoes. They weren't like a creature of Washington who was out here trying to like just tell you what you're going to do or how government's here to solve your problems. No, they were like, I'm not telling you that we're going to solve all your problems, but I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to hear what you have to say. And so that's where I think, like, Democrats have to find those people exist in all parts of the country,
everywhere.
Right? Like, one of the things after the election, I was like looking at the map and figuring out, like, okay, how do Democrats regain our ability to win across the country? Like, we need to be better at electing Democrats in places like Nashville, Tennessee, or Tennessee in general, right? Like,
agreed.
And how do we go to all parts of whether it's Memphis, Chattanooga, Nashville, Knoxville, and say, like, here's what the Democratic, like, I'm trying to do to help this part of the country. This is what me as the mayor of Knoxville think is important. Here's what I'm going to try to do to help improve this community. And, like, make it about helping the community. And, like, people will respond and resonate, I think, to that a lot more than just, like, here's my, like, theoretical plan about, and to bring it full circle, like, about tariffs, right? Like you can have a conversation about tariffs, bring it down to what it means for this community, 100%. Right? Like, and that to me feels like where we have to go.
And I think that, and I know we have to wrap soon, but one of the things that Twigg and I did, which in retrospect is kind of funny, I don't know. We
know what you're
interviewed
about to
all
say.
of the DNC chair candidates.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of it.
Aside from Ken Martin.
Aside from Ken Martin, which is ironic because he won. But what I loved about it is like what we were doing, Twig and I were like vision boarding, right?
Yeah.
Like every interview and every conversation, we were like, what is the Democratic Party we want to build? And I think that we find ourselves in this circular firing squad where we're very good at saying what Democrats suck at. We're not very good at telling Democrats what they should be doing and showing an example of what they should be doing. I really like that field office idea, right? Like, why not now, especially when Americans, everyday citizens, are being attacked in every kind of way? Like, every kind of way. How dope would it be if the Democratic Party set up field offices where it was kind of like, we're just going to take in, like, what is your case? What's going on with you? You know? And then how do we connect the dots? Or at the very least, are we listening to people?
And I think we have to think about it not just in what is good for the next midterm cycle.
Yes, exactly.
Totally.
It's bigger than just the midterms.
It is. This is like like what is our 2034?
Yes.
And we're going to lay the groundwork, the groundwork for us to be competitive in all that. We're not going to elect the Democrat to the Senate in Tennessee in like next week.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. Like,
but it's like remember Harold Ford?
Right.
Like
know.
this wasn't that long ago. Like it was
that
not
ad. Remember that ad?
long ago.
Right.
That that Democrats, black people, like that were winning across the board in places around the country that you would just never even think about.
That's right. But I think there was a way. I mean, when Obama came in 2009, we had 60 Democratic seats. Right. We had a Democratic senator in Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Louisiana. Like,
we won everywhere.
Right, we won everywhere. But you think about the people who were like God bless Byron Dorgan, right? Like but nobody in North Dakota could question whether Byron Dorgan was authentic about who he was trying to help the people in North Dakota. Right? Like, say what you want about, like they were real, and that's why I think people like John Tester like actually like was able to get elected in Montana like multiple times over, right?
and over.
And so like we have to then go like, and people would, I think in the Democratic establishment will look at like, well, John Tester's like just that farmer in Montana because they've never once stepped foot on the farm.
Right.
They've never like they never gone and like talked to and like, you know what? Like, I don't believe that the chairman of the Democratic Party is necessarily the one that needs to be able to speak and feel for all people.
No, of
right?
course
Like,
not. Yeah.
that is not. But like, have you helped set up the infrastructure around the country so that you can have people who can go have all those conversations, right? Who can go and like Tim Ryan, like shotgun a beer with the people getting off the shift, like in a Youngstown.
Tim Ryan
right?
will definitely do that,
right?
Or
whatever.
I've
the
shotgunned
is,
a
right?
beer with Tim Ryan in my day.
Like go have like a real spicy taco outside of Phoenix or wherever the thing is. Right? Go eat some like chitlins and collard greens with the folks in Alabama and Mississippi.
Yeah.
And go, and not just and while I'm here, like, look, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm trying to do.
The last piece I would say too is, and Twig and I are always talking about this because we're nerdy producers, but everything you just mentioned is a storytelling opportunity as well. So say you're inviting those people to these things and you have a camera out back and you're like, oh, that's a really dope story. Why don't you go tell our producer that story about, Medicaid being cut and your autistic son not being able to get the services that he needs. We're just,
Trump
think that
is successful because he understands how television works.
Exactly.
And it's like,
exactly.
We should too.
Yeah. And like, but
to your point, like that's, we've got to start understanding how storytelling in the present moment works.
And look, so one of the things that like we think about a lot at BPI is like how culture is actually upstream of politics. And thinking about tapping into some of the cultural operators and people around the country who are more likely to get people to listen to them. And so how do you find those people who could tell an authentic story? I mean, it goes back to like, it's some of the basics, the fundamentals. Like, you're not necessarily going to believe the politician in your community, but the neighbor across the street would be like, you know what? Like, Andy Kim kind of like, he makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, or like that person, like Westmore, like Josh Shapiro, whoever, like, yeah, like I may not love everything about him, but I think he's honest. I think he's straightforward. I think he's trying to help me out.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you get to know that person outside of the context of them being a politician.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I've said this over and over and over again on this pod and in private. So sorry to everyone who loves me that listens. But like, Democrats have a really bad habit of engaging with culture, but then breaking the rules of the form of that culture. Like to go on Call Her Daddy and not wear a hoodie, not talk about sex, not talk about an abortion you or your bestie or whoever had, to not like tell some salacious story about how you like to not understand that why this thing is popular. Yeah. We go
and then to build your own set on top of it, which made no sense.
I wasn't going to go there,
I'll
but
go there.
yeah.
I'll take it one step further.
But to go on Charlemagne, again, where people have raw, unfiltered conversations where the entire point is to come out with an oopsie soundbite, like, and then to be chided and kind of guided by the creator of the container that you're in, of the cultural product, to go off script and then to refuse. Like, but it's not just Kamala. Democrats do this over and over and over and over and over again. And so it's like, until we actually demonstrate more respect for culture, it's not just finding the cultural opportunities to be a part of. You can put any politician you want on Hot Ones. It doesn't matter if they're not going to show up and eat wings. Right. And like, you know what I mean? It's like literally going on Hot Ones and being like, oh, no, I'm not going to have wings. I'm here to talk about infrastructure.
Yeah, and you can go on Hot Wings and be like, I can't. Like, that's a little too much heat for me. I quit. Like
you have to go and like puke. Go and throw up on the table. I don't care, but like that is what has to happen. And so until Democrats, I was so sanctimonious about some of this stuff, and we're so uppity about some of it that it's
all
like
of it.
Until
well, I think we're sanctimonious about all of it.
But I'll remember. Like I remember this, and not to preach too much about Westmore, but I remember like hearing people say like after he went to a Ravens game, went to the tailgate.
I saw that. Yeah, that was great.
Beer, and I was like, and like he's real, right? Like, and so I remember someone saying like, it's really not a good look for like the black governor to be like shotgunning a beer in the parking lot, and I was like, oh no, you're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. Like you're 100%
wrong.
There are a lot of people who will see that and be like,
great,
he can shotgun and be okay. Like on the day of the Army Navy game after, like he's in the stands, like whooping it up with the other cadets. Yeah, because he feels it. And you can say
he's that guy.
And where was Donald Trump? Like he was in the suite.
Yeah,
he wasn't like out here in the cold, like cheering it on with the fans, right? Like, and so whoever the Democratic Party rallies behind has to be more of that than the people who are comfortable. Like talking to the people in the streets.
In whatever's the real expression, like why Kamala didn't continue her cooking show, like she should have been in the residence in the Naval Observatory chopping it up, or whatever.
We love you. We love you.
No, it's not a
we're just.
It is much more criticism, as you're saying, of staff and like the broader sort of caution that exists than it is of individuals, because it's not as though we're like so many people. These are our friends. They're cool. They're interesting. They're fun. They're dynamic. And if you get to know them outside of the context of their job, then like you're much more likely to trust them. You're much more likely to actually at least hear them out or whatever. And it actually buoys their support. You know. And I think that there's just a lot that we can do around. As this all started, because you're like, people need to run and do the thing in their local communities. And it's like Democrats, we preach a lot about diversity and inclusion, how valuable it is. But until we start turning that into a structural advantage and being like, it is amazing that John Tester is the way that he is and is different than the guy than Wes or whoever, you know, like until we turn that into something that we brag about and that we're actively courting and not chopping off the ends if you're too far conservative or you're too far like whatever, we need to, and like telling a better story around that, it's not going to work for us. And it's like, you know, you got to turn what you have into your advantage. But
like just to bring it full circle, I mean, I think that starts with having like a real clear economic theory of the case and argument, because that is the thing that people care about in their daily life, and is the sense of anxiety that people feel in the country. So I think like you can think about what is an affirmative economic agenda that is a yes and economic agenda, right? That is like, yes, we're going to invest in your community.
Totally.
Like, we're going to create good paying jobs in America. Like, yes, we're going to help American companies compete. And that means tariffs on some goods that like we need to make here in the country, but we can do both.
Yeah.
Like we can, like, yes, we can like do like a real, like smart strategy to create economic opportunity in the country. And here's how we're going to do it.
There you go.
We did it. We talked about the economy for an hour and a half. It was so fun.
Has it really been an hour and a half? Did we get started right at 5?
This is the most fun I've had talking about tariffs in a long time.
I was just going to say.
Love y'all. Love y'all.
Who knew? I'm going to look up the tariff meme account on Reddit. I'm sure that they exist. We should have given you
some of Brad's wood first.
I know. We've got booze, but we forgot to give it to you.
Try to send it to your friends in out of the country because it's about to get a whole lot.
Speaking of tariffs.
Tariffs are going up on bourbon to Europe. And buy your French Burgundy, whatever you want to
get
now.
Why? The bourbon?
Right, yeah. That's actually a question I had for you, but then I got distracted by something someone was ranting about.
It's probably
probably. What is do you have a prediction about whether or not the tariffs that are slated for the first go through, like the upcoming rounds of tariffs that he's talking about? Do you think that they're going to come down a little bit? Do you think he's going to hedge? Like, do you believe, you're paying closer attention than most of us, like this thing that Donald Trump has of coming out with the super aggressive posture and then allowing himself to be worked back or completely rolled back, regardless he's going to claim victory? Like, what do you see happening over the course of the next few weeks?
It seems like we are falling into the typical pattern with Trump where he promises like sunshine, rainbows, tariffs. We're going to do we're going to pound them. We're going to get it. And then you get into the actual like policy making and just like, I know from my like former colleagues at USTR, it is really hard and to understand every single tariff barrier, every single tariff we have in every single country in the world and say, by April 2nd, it's all going to X. Like, that is just not like feasible. It's not how it's not not possible. It's not the way it works. But also, it's just dumb because there are some places in the world where they make a whole lot of stuff that we don't make here in the U.S. Now, it's not to say like there aren't some things that are worth trying to help make more.
And so few things are made entirely in one place. Like there's components and things shipping back and forth borders.
But there's also like there's a reason why like some of our allies and partners who make that stuff, it is good to support their economy too. Yeah. Because they're gonna buy our shit.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're gonna come back and like they have more economic opportunity. Like they're gonna be part of the like helping the broader like global economy grow and like. A global recession is bad for all people. Like, and Democrats like shouldn't be rooting for like a Trump recession or a recession because that's just fundamentally bad for the American people. And you can point out the consequences.
Yeah.
You can point out like the uncertainty and the chaos that has been caused by like announcing tariffs one day and then walking it back. Announcing steel and aluminum tariffs and then walking it back. Like that creates a whole lot of uncertainty. People just kind of just like hit pause.
Yeah.
And like. Every sector of the economy hitting pause is bad for everybody. So I think like it will end up being, I think, softer than it originally planned. I think some of that is credit to like the economic, the way that the stock market has retreated from the uncertainty. But again, once you start putting that sense of uncertainty in the economy, it's really hard to stop it from unraveling.
Well, great.
So stock up on bourbon.
And
your French wine.
Buy your rice.
French wine and rice. And buy gold. I don't know. No, I'm kidding.
Not going to hear that from me.
I'm kidding. Adam, thank you so much for coming, man. We appreciate you.
Say hi to all of our buddies at BPI, man.
We'll do.
Love you guys.
Peace.